Morning folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with the Pathfinder School, and this morning we're going to discuss the Lucet and making cordage with a Lucet tool. This is a Viking era type cordage. It's a square bound cordage that you can make with a very simple tool that I'll show you in just a few minutes. You could actually use a fork from a tree to make this Lucet type cordage. You don't have to have a specially designed modern tool for it. It's important to me to understand all of the skills within a skill set. It's no different with making fire. I want to know how to make fire in as many ways as possible because I never know when that micro skill within the skill set may come in handy. I'm going to carry a ferro rod with me every day of the week and twice on Sunday, but you never know when something might happen that you get stuck without that ferro rod, or you lose that ferro rod, and you may have to resort to a more primitive method of making fire. And making clothing, making cordage, and doing things with that cordage to affect other items like clothing is no different. One of the things that Albert Einstein said was that it's not that I'm so smart, it's that I stay with the question longer. Let that sink in for a minute and think about that, because it directly relates to immersion type training. You pick a skill and you look at all the micro skills within that total skill set and you try to figure out as many of them as you possibly can and commit them to muscle memory, because you never know when one of those micro skills may come in handy if something else is not available. So today we're going to talk about the Lucet. Stay with me and we'll get started. This is a modern Lucet tool, and it's just a wooden fork that's been fancied up a little bit. And the medieval Lucets looked very similar to this. Many of them were made of bone. Some of them were just the fork itself with the bone hollow so the cordage could be pulled through the center of the bone. This one has a hole in it to pull that cordage through, but you really don't need any of that to make a Lucet cord. You can just pull it straight down through the fork. So any fork stick will work for this, and I'll show you how to use this without the hole as if it were just a fork stick. It's a very simple process. Now there are several advantages to this Lucet type cordage. The first advantage is that it can be done with any length of cordage. You don't have to have set lengths like you would if you were braiding a cord together. You'd have to have 3 lengths of cordage, fairly equal length, and braid them together. With this, you're doing the whole thing with a single strand of cordage. So you have an unlimited length really, and nothing to really get all tangled up like you do when you're braiding things together and they get tangled at the bottom, or finger weaving and things like that. The other advantage to this is because it is incorporating knots every time you advance this cordage. If it gets cut on one of the strands for some reason, it doesn't necessarily weaken the whole cord like it would something that was just braided together, where that cord could then slip through because there are knots. So I'm going to show you some different materials that I've made Lucets out of and show you what they look like, Lucet braids. And then I will show you how to use this tool. And again, you can use anything forked for this tool, from bone to wood. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be this fancy. Stay with me and I'll show you some Lucet cords. Okay, so here are 4 examples of luceted cords, and this one is number 36 bank line. You can see it makes a square rope type material, so that would be very good for lanyards, zipper pulls, things like that. But it also would make a single strand of cordage much stronger by braiding it and knotting it together. This one is made out of 550 parachute cord. This is just a nylon shoelace. And this one is a piece of jute twine. So you can use any material to make this Lucet. The size of it is going to be dictated by the diameter of your cordage, obviously. So here's the difference between a Lucet made with jute and one made with 550 cord. Okay, so I'm going to use an orange bow fishing line here, and I just chose that because I had it laying around and it was brightly colored, so I thought it'd be easy for you guys to see. So the first step here is either put it here over the top and kind of catch it with your thumb, or you can put it through this hole, either way, like this, and hold it with your thumb. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it right here and hold it with my thumb as if I didn't have that hole there. because if you're using a fork stick, that's what you're going to have. Now you're going to take it through the fork here and then wrap it around and go between the forks here. Come back over the top of the fork and drop it behind like this. And that's the way you're going to start out. Then you're going to just zigzag it back and hold it in your hand. So you basically have a zigzag through that fork at this point. Zoom in on this just a little bit for you guys. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take this bottom cord and you're going to put it over the top of this cord, just like this, and then pull it down tight. Now you're going to start flipping this back and forth. You're going to come over to here and you're going to go over the top and you're going to pull the bottom line tight and over the fork. Then pull it down from the bottom, just like this. Then you're going to come and flip it around again, come over the top, grab that knot, and pull it over the top, just like that. Pull everything tight. Come back to the other side. Pull that knot up and go around. Come back to the other side. If you pull that, it'll tighten everything up as you go. Go to the top and over. Flip it around, tighten it up a little bit. Over the top every time, just like this. The smaller the diameter of this cordage is, the more of a pain it is with big hands. Over the top again, just like this. Snug it down a little bit. Pull it tight, go over the top of the fork. Snug it up a little bit. Go over the top of the fork. Snug it up a little bit. Go over the top of the fork. And you're just going to repeat that process until you get that thing as long as you want it to be. So again, it's a very, very simple technique. It's a repetitive motion that will exercise your fine motor skills. Again, the bigger hands you got, the more of a pain this can be with small cordage. But you can start to see now what we're getting here. Let me run a couple more of these and then we'll kind of look at this plait or the braid that we're getting here. Okay, so if you look at that, you've got that basically square plated material there. And again, it's all knotted, so it's not going to come undone. If one of these were to get cut, the whole thing's not going to come unraveling like it would if you were to make that thing with a continuous chain loop like we did yesterday, or if we were storing cordage, something like that. If you cut one of those chains and the loops in the chain, the whole thing's going to come undone. That won't happen with this. Now what I do with these is, to finish this off, and I'll show you here in just a second, I'm going to make this a little bit longer and then we'll come back and we'll finish this thing off because that's very, very simple to do. Okay, so once we've got what we want, let's just say we're making a zipper pull here or something, and this is long enough for what I want. All I'm going to do is take this off the forks, and that's going to leave me a loop here, a loop here, and a loop here. And all I'm going to do is cut myself a little bit of extra length here on this end. Take this and go through this loop here, just like this, and through this other exposed loop here, like this, and draw it down tight against itself, just like that. And that's going to give me a knot right there that's not going to come undone at the bottom. Well guys, I appreciate you joining me for this simple introduction to Lucet Cording. there are lots and lots of applications that I could think of for this type cordage in the modern day. It could be used for some type of a hood pull on like a boreal bushcraft shirt or a lacing material. It could be used to hang things off your belt like it was done in medieval times. It could be used for zipper pulls, lanyards on different types of equipment. There's lots and lots of applications for this technique. So I think it's a very good tool to put in your toolbox of ways that you can utilize a resource like cordage. I appreciate you joining me today. I appreciate all your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business. For all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.